Hi everybody. Does anybody else feel awkward or funny in front of a camera? Because if it has to do with other things, I don't, but sure enough, I do if it has to talk about me. But what I wanted to kind of talk about today is the difference between when I was a manager and when I became a leader and what that means. And hopefully that might help somebody else. I had my first management role when I was 19 years old. It was in a furniture store. And as I mentioned yesterday, if you were with me, I wanted to become a manager because I wanted to make more money to take care of my son. Very quickly, when he was small, I became a single mother. So making more money was important. But the transition to a leader happened probably 2 or 3 years later. And those two words mean two very different things to me because of how I think they're defined. As a manager, I cared about my success, I cared about my money, and I cared about how I was acknowledged for that, more so than the people that worked for me. And you notice I'm landing on some certain words. These words actually eventually become triggers for me in my career. So when I ended up with a manager in my journey that was hypocritical, you know, that person that says, oh, do this, but don't do this, and they do just the opposite, right? I mean, it's certainly they're out there, they still exist. And I thought, God, that's not who I want to be. You know, sometimes from your managers, you're going to learn what not to do or what you don't want to be. And that's what that was for me. So I started doing some reading, and I ended up with a supervisor along the way that was a leader. And the difference had to do with how she was the first to actually do it. What she told people needed to be done, she had already done it, so she knew that that worked and it was possible. She led by example, right? I mean, at the core of leadership is lead. It doesn't mean you're always going to have to be the doer, right? If you're really a great leader, you learn to delegate, you learn to train, develop, delegate, so that way you can actually duplicate yourself or what needs to be done. But that transition to leader found myself with the word manager having a negative connotation because what it represented for me. And even today, it still does. And I'm okay with that because people also don't work for me, right? People work for their families. They work for a quality of life. They work for peace of mind. They work for retirement. They work with me. And if I'm going into a company or I'm working directly within a team, they're still working with me. It's their choice. They're not required to work in that company or to do those things. You know, it's similar to when people say, I hate my job, I don't want to be here, I want to, then don't. You are not sentenced to work where you work, right? It is a choice that you make. So either enjoy and appreciate that choice and thrive and excel, or choose to leave. But another big pet peeve for me would probably be people who stay in a work environment, who complain about a work environment as though they've gotten a life sentence to be there. Guys, don't be that person. And if you're a leader and that's your mentality or that's the way you speak about the company you're in, you are the problem. Just own that, move on, or have a conversation and try to change it, right? We were talking about culture yesterday and how that's a big part of success. You know, when companies start to flail, they want to look at the product, the marketing, the messaging, those things, and they are all important. But ultimately, if your people don't feel appreciated, important, inspired, and have the ability to be a part of what you're doing, there's your results, right? Think about it. You can take an incredible person and put them in a failing environment, and success will come. I've seen it time and time again. This isn't, and you know, I like to call them footprints, right? So that person has a footprint. So I guess my question to you today was, I remember when I made the transition from a manager to a leader and the value that that brought in my career and the personal value I got from watching other people succeed. I don't have personal success. It's really in watching all the people who've trusted me to lead them and their success. That's where the joy comes from. So when did you make the transition, or are you still in manager role and want to make the transition to leader? You need a mentor for that. It makes it certainly easier. And we'll have these conversations. So if there's a question you have about that, or a comment in regards to kind of what I've chatted about today, put it in the comments. I am really looking forward to some feedback and some direction, because you get all this stuff in your head when you've got almost 25 years of experience and life lessons and failures. I will talk about my failures to you all day long. I have no problem with that, because if it helps you, let's talk about it. But let me know what it is you want to hear, and we'll have a chat. And again, if it's just me and no one watches it, it's okay. The reality is oh, I dropped my button. The reality is I need to get comfortable with this, because if I want to have the impact on the workplace that I want to have, and worldwide I feel that businesses need to evolve, I got to get comfortable talking about my journey. So thank you for being here. Again, we'll chat tomorrow. I don't know how long these conversations will be. It looks like today's is about 6.5 minutes, so not too long. And again, thank you for following my journey, and look forward to connecting.